Good afternoon, all. CamelbackTrading.org coming to you this Monday afternoon, May 23rd. We are looking at Window Trader's market profile. SPY, IWM, and triple Qs. So look, we know it's a P shape. It's again mostly short covering, just like Friday's rip up was vicious short covering and obviously momentum buying with the option, with the option expiration. But regardless of what it is, okay, the day was controlled by the bulls, and you have to trade it based on that. Now, we know short covering eventually makes a market weaker. We have price vacuums all over the place. But today, because the market was so strong, it gave a great opportunity in H period when it pulled back. And I took full advantage of it. The daily's back to balance for me. Now, some people might have kept it in balance, but because we took out Friday's low by so much, I had the daily down coming into today, right back to balance. And it's a pretty large balance, which we'll see on the chart when we get to it. Did a lot of small trades early, and then I had a great trade in H, and I did not make a trade after H because there was nothing there for me. I was actually a little surprised. I thought we had a very good chance to price probe to the upside. Obviously, it didn't happen. The market just ran out of steam after K period made their high. I did take two longs in A period when we were in the upper distribution, right? So we opened above the single print from the 20th. So I said on pullbacks, I want to stay above C's high. So a couple of times we basically touched it and bounced out of it, and I took longs on those 390 calls. Because if you get acceptance into C's range, you're in a lower distribution. There's nothing below us. Now, we did get the overnight low, believe it or not. That's the only thing the bears got. They one time frame down in B period and had the overnight low, and then that was it. They gave up the whole game. I did take a short in B, not at the lows, but when we started coming back, basically against the opening, and I scalped them a couple of times. I did have a little left when we got above the opening, took those off for a loss, but the overall trade on B period was successful on the 393 puts. I took a short in C against the overnight high because there was no tempo, 397 puts that paid me. I accidentally got into a short in D, and I got fortunate enough to get out of it before it started ripping in D and E. So I don't even want to count that one, even though I made some more money on it. And then in E period, because we had single prints in D, I started doing the ebb and flow trade. So any pullback in E, I took long, back up, took it off. And those were the 395 calls. Now, we had a very small set of single prints in E, and then we had Ds. And then G filled those. I did take one small long in G, but it was nothing big. I thought we might get more of a pullback. Didn't look like these singles wanted to hold. So what I did was when H took out G's low, started my long. Again, nothing big. I figured these were going to fill. My bigger play was going to be between C's high and A's high. So I was taking 5 lots, 3 lots, this and that. The singles filled, got a little bigger. Now I started taking the bigger lot probably somewhere around here, in the middle of between A's high and C's high. And then when we filled the single prints, added on, I was long about 90 calls. Now it definitely pulled back below that. And initially I was hurting. I was tempted to take a much bigger play at half back at the time, but I didn't like the fact that we got back to B's high because that made the pocket that time B's high and H's low. I wasn't crazy about that. So that's why I didn't add any more than the 90. Well, it turned out it worked out fine because it did nothing but bounce off that, climb back up, and had a really good trade on the whole thing. Could have done it again in I, didn't do it, and then I just watched. Like I said, we did make a new high in K, but we got no legs. There was nothing really here for me. So, I mean, that H trade paid me very nicely along with all the other ones I had earlier in the day. As far as destinations, upside, we have today's high of 397.73. Then we don't have anything to the single prints from the 18th. They started 398.22 E's high, and they get filled at C's low of 399.93. It's $1.71, pretty big. And then nothing to that day's high of 403.80. For the downside, we have the afternoon pullback low. Again, I'm not going to ignore 8 wide, but I'm not carrying it forward. H's low of 394.02. Then we have nothing until today's low of 390.38. And then the weekly low, which is Friday's low of 380.54. So again, price vacuums all over the place. And then on the chart, just show you the daily. The monthly's down, the weekly's balance, and the daily's back to balance. Again, I know we closed back into the range on Friday with that rip, but taking out that low by $5, I was giving the bears the benefit of the doubt to see if they can come back down today. Obviously, they couldn't. We continued up, and we took out, more importantly, Friday's high, even though for me on the SPY, it was even a lot higher than ES because of that stupid spit out we talked about. So we are back in balance. Again, it's all subjective. For now, I would really make it this whole thing. So that's a what? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's an 11-day balance. The high of it is 408.57. The low of it is 380.54. That's a $28 balance. That's a huge balance. So now let's see what happens in it. We have the minutes released this coming Wednesday at 2. Are we going to finally at least attempt to trade to the 20 and trade to the top of the balance? Or are we going to roll over at some point and test the bottom of it? All remains to be seen, but it's a good first step for the bulls to get the weekly and daily back into balance. Come check us out at camelbacktrading.org. Thanks for the likes and subscribing. Enjoy your evening, and we'll speak prior to the opening tomorrow.